In your PXL 500 controller, you want to be able to identify the different areas of your controller. That communication point is located here. You have 5, your RS-232, your LAN connector. That's easily identified by the red connector. And below you have your outputs, your inputs, and you have your reader connections located here. In the right-hand section, you have various LEDs to give you the status of communications as well as relays. You have your firmware chip or your EEPROM and your address bar to identify the address of your controller as well as provide some diagnostics. The selection button immediately below is used to identify the address, set the address, and perform a RAM reset on the controller. Start block number 1, your RS-485 connection. This will allow you to communicate from the master controller onto other controllers down the line. The controller must be addressed as 01. This identifies it as the master. As the master controller, this controller will communicate not only to controllers downline, but back to your PC and to the door software. Controller downline from the master is considered a slave and must be addressed as 02 through 128. You can have a maximum distance of about 1,000 feet between the controllers with a total network length of 16,000 feet. 45, in order to be used in its optimal fashion, it requires the use of a stranded shielded twisted pair of cables, such as the Belden 9501 or equivalent. These should be wired in a daisy chain configuration, going in and out of each reader. You use a star configuration off of the master and go up to 3 different directions. This is TB12, your RS-232 connection. When your controller is configured as master, this port would be utilized. It would allow you to communicate back to your PC, a direct connect via or the optional LAN connector. When RS-232, you have a maximum distance of 50 feet. You have 2 options of communication. You have a direct connect back to your PC or via the modem. Wiring up a direct connect from your PC to your controller consists of only 3 wires. You have pin 2 going to pin 1, pin 3 pin 2, and then 5. When wiring a modem, it will require 5 wires. The wire changes slightly. Where 3 goes to pin 1, and 2 goes to pin 2, 6 to 4, 5, and 5 goes to 6. The TB13 connector here will allow your controller to utilize the optional LAN 520 adapter. With your PXL IP presence on a customer's network. The controller must be addressed as 01 in order to communicate back to your software. This controller, when set up in the LAN configuration, will require a static IP address. You can see the PXL 500 with the LAN 520, and you can see available RJ45 connector. When this has been set up, the terminal number 12 is no longer needed. Terminal number 2 is your power connector. The controller requires 12 volts of power at 1 amp. It is strongly suggested that you use an earth ground when installing this equipment. Earth ground will help protect the equipment from any type of interference from transients, as well as drain any electrostatic buildup that these components make contact with. It also helps protect any service personnel that may be working on the equipment. on TV number 3 gives you access to the 2 onboard Form C relays. Relays have a rating of 24 volts at 1 amp. These packs are dry, so you will need to provide your own voltage if you're going to be supplying voltage to a device using these relays. Here are a couple of examples on how to wire a fail-safe and fail-secure device. In standard, you would use the positive lead of your power supply, and you would interrupt that through the onboard relay. Output on the same terminal block is pins 4, 5, and 6. It also gives you a Form C relay. The alarm relay is triggered when the door encounters either a door forced or door held situation. The door is unlocked through a valid access, either be a card read or a request to exit. The door then unlocked and you can open the door. When the door is held open for a specified period of time, then the door remains open. This alarm relay will be fired, triggering whether it be a sounding device, burglar alarm, or any other component you may have hooked up to there. Next, terminal block number 4 are your inputs. The PX100 has 3 inputs, 2 of them which are assigned to the door sense and request to exit. Note you have a red jumper on one of the inputs. The door sense input. If you're going to be using a door position sensor, this must be removed. Otherwise, leave this jumper intact. If this jumper is removed and nothing is attached to this input, your read will go into an alarm and your read will start to beep and the relay will be fired. The third input is your either assigned as an auxiliary request to exit. It can be a global unlock trigger, which would unlock all the doors in your system. Global unlock input is only on the master controller. The global lock is more of a convenience feature and should not be used in a life safety situation, such as a fire alarm. Contact between master controller and any slave controller down the line is broken from that 485 network, signal will never get to those other controllers, thus leaving those doors locked. So please use the global unlock input for life safety situations. All contacts are dry and requires only a short to activate. Here's an example on how to wire up your door signal. This is a normally closed input. When this is connected and doors closed, that is maintained and the door remains in the normal operation. If it is opened, request to exit, or a valid card read, or perhaps a time zone, the read would then go into an alarm and it would also trigger your alarm relay. Your exit is a normally open input. You can wire a motion sensor or a button to this input, and this will unlock the door for a specified period of time when it is triggered. The only open input for the auxiliary requested or global unlock are the same. They're both normally open and just need short to trigger. This is configurable within the door software. The reader port located at the bottom, TV5 and TV6. Number 5 is at the edge of the board and is identified as door 1 when used with the optional satellite board. Terminal number 6 would be assigned as door B, or your second reader for your PXL 500 when in use with the satellite board. The carry reader to the reader ports use pins 1 through 6, pin 1 being your signal, to beeper 3 or 4 is your power and ground, 5 and 6 being your LEDs. 7 would not be used. But using a PXL 500W and a Wiegand reader, you would be using all 7 ports or 7 pins. Data 0 being on 1 and data 1 being on pin number 7. Readers require at least a 6-conductor shielded strand cable. Wiegand readers, depending on the type that you have, require from a 4 to 7 conductor. When you use a PXL 500W, be sure to check the power rating on your reader. You don't want to apply 12 volts to a reader that is only supposed to have 5 volts applied. Said JP5 jumper will set that voltage either to 5 or 12 volts. This simple diagram is located on your Quick Start guide for your PXL 500. Start is provided on the software CD as well as it is downloadable from the Carry website at www.carrysys.com. .593 or the satellite board has 2 different configurations available to it. Depending on the position of the JP12 jumper, where the on or off will trigger this controller either an input, output, or a 2-door controller. When it is removed, it becomes a 2-door controller and assigns terminal block number 7 as your lock output and alarm output, much like it would be on terminal block number 3 of the PXL 500. Terminal number 8 would then become your inputs for your door sensors and request to exit. Terminal 8 is very similar to that of terminal block number 4, for the exception of pins 5 and 6. The auxiliary RTE would be located on pin number 4 and 5. With shorted, this control now becomes a general purpose input-output. Your routes have now been reassigned as general purpose outputs and are fully configurable through door software. Are the inputs. There are a number of logic functions that can be performed when the board is set up as an input-output door.